and I believe that I am the reason for my own misery. But how can I unlink myself with it? Okay. So there's a great quotation, and I don't know who says it, but it's one of my favorite quotations, which is, if you are miserable in a room alone, chances are you're the cause. And I love that quotation, and chances are the person who's asked the question has heard me say that or some variation of it, because we always blame others for our misery. I would be in such peace if it weren't for you. I would be so happy if it weren't for you, and you're the reason. I was so great, then you showed up. If you just would act like this or do that or be like this, then I'd be happy, then I'd be peaceful. But what that quote reminds us is, people may do things. People may say things, sure. It's what people do. But if you're sitting in a room and you're miserable, and those people aren't there, and you've carried what they did or said into that room, you are the cause of your misery. So the question says, okay, I recognize that. I believe you. I know that. But how do I disconnect myself from the misery? This is the problem between what we loosely call conscious mind, unconscious mind. You can go into more depth of it, but there's no need to go into those depths right now. For now, it's enough to just say conscious, unconscious. Conscious mind, thinking mind. If I give you all a math problem to solve, something more difficult than 2 + 2, you're going to have to apply your conscious mind to it. Thinking mind. So when I say to you, you are the cause of your misery, and you walk out and you repeat to yourself, I am the cause of my misery, this is your conscious mind. And it's trying to help you. It's doing its best. It's a good guy. It's telling you every time you're miserable, you're the cause. You're the cause. Sadhviji said, you're the cause of your misery. But now here's the problem. We've got this unconscious mind, and that includes subconscious as well. So what I'm calling unconscious is everything other than the most conscious thinking mind. So we have subconscious, unconscious mind. And this is the place that all of our patterns of behavior lay. This is the stuff that was programmed into us when we were children. This is the stuff that over our lifetimes have become habitual. So raise your hand in here if you know the story of Pavlov and the dogs. Okay, so it's worth repeating. It's important for me to know because I don't want to refer to it and find that people don't know. So a scientist named Pavlov did a study many, many years ago that's one of the most fundamental studies in behaviorism and psychology. And what he did was he took dogs and he would ring a bell, and every time he rang the bell, he would give them food. After a little while, at the sound of the bell, the dogs would start to salivate. Like right now, it's almost dinner time. If suddenly from the kitchen, smells of curry start wafting through the door, you're going to find that your mouth gets a little bit wet. It's great. It's God's beautiful plan to help us digest our food. But so we salivate. So these dogs started salivating at the sound of the bell because they knew that bell means I'm getting food. But then he did something very interesting. He stopped giving them food after the bell. They kept salivating. So you have dogs who, at the sound of a bell, salivate. Now there's no reason for them to salivate. There's no food coming. But at some time in their past, the bell meant food. And it was a learned behavior. Now I bring this in to right now because what happens in our lives, this is what we call subconscious unconscious. Pavlov could have stood there and screamed to the dogs, "No food coming. Kitchen closed." But their mouths would still salivate. Because it wasn't that they would hear the bell and the brain would think, "Oh, this means food." It wasn't conscious thinking. It had become habit. There's a saying in neurology. They say neurons that fire together wire together. Two things that happen at the same time become connected. If in my childhood, let's say I shared a room with my brother, and every night when my parents turned off the lights, my brother beat me. Well, in my mind, darkness meant pain. Lights went out, I got beat. Well, the neurons in my brain that recognize darkness and the neurons in my brain that respond to fear and pain start wiring together. Now I'm an adult, no brother in my room, no beating, but I'm afraid of the dark. I need a very, very bright nightlight. Why? Because my brain has wired darkness to fear, darkness to pain. Okay? So, not a true story, it's just an example, but like Pavlov's dogs. So what happens in our life is we develop patterns. In our lives, for example, when we were young, some pattern happens. We're taught something by our parents. You're not good enough. You're the ugly one. You're the stupid one. Or we're taught the world is a dangerous place. Our mother's afraid, our father's afraid, there's anxiety. We pick it up. Maybe nothing ever happened to us, but we were raised by people who were anxious. We pick it up. Now we've got this pattern, like Pavlov's dogs, in our brain. The world is a dangerous place. I'm the stupid one. I'm not worthy. Who knows what our pattern is? But it got into us at a young age. On a brain wave level, the brain waves of children 7 years and younger are pretty much the same types of brain waves that you have when you've been hypnotized. And I mention this because children are very, very suggestible. What you put in the minds of children, they take. And it stays with them. But this forms the subconscious, unconscious part of our mind. And so if I've been taught at a young age, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable. Maybe we had parents who every time we cleaned up our room, maybe we had a mom who was stressed, didn't have money for a housekeeper. She was working 2 jobs. Cleaning the house was the biggest headache of hers. Every time we didn't clean up our room, she got really angry. Every time we did clean up our room, she gave us a big hug and kiss and baked us cookies. Well, in our mind, 2 things get embedded. Number 1, chances are we're going to grow up and be very, very clean, very, very organized, very orderly, and we're going to get distressed if things are out of place. Maybe we have a roommate in college who's really messy, and it creates so much stress for us. It's her stuff, but why can't I sleep? Why does her messy bed bother me so much? And we're not even aware of it. But in our brain, what it signifies is loss of love, loss of love, loss of love, loss of love. And what we learn is love is contingent upon what I do. It's not given based on who I am, based on my existence. It's based on whether my room is clean or not. Did I get good grades? Did I get bad grades? Whatever the thing that our parents, that was important to them was. Acceptance and love is based on what I do, not who I am. And what does that mean? It means I, as a being, am not actually worthy of love. I'm very organized, I'm very orderly, I'm very good in school, I'm a good cook. When mom comes home, I've got dinner on the table. Whatever it was I did. I can do these things, and I do good things, but I, as a being, if the room's messy, if I failed math, if I didn't get dinner on the table, didn't go pee in the toilet, whatever the thing was, I'm not worthy of love. Which means at the core of who I am, I'm not worthy of love. And I mention this because that's the cause of misery in our life. And all people around us do is they trigger that. They trigger that. I'm trying to be clean, my roommate is a mess. I'm trying to be organized, my project partner's a mess. And why does it make me so miserable? Because on a deep level, it signifies loss of love. But I can't think my way out of that. That's the dilemma. My conscious thinking mind cannot think my way out of it any more than Pavlov's dogs could think themselves out of salivating. Or I could think myself out of a racing heart in the dark. I could buy all the most expensive locks, hire a guard, put in an alarm system, sleep alone or sleep with a bodyguard, and my heart would still race because I cannot think myself out of that. And this is actually where so many of the other practices of meditation, practices of working with the subconscious are so powerful. Ritual. Yagna. Anything that gets you into a state that's not the intellectual thinking mind. This is one of the things that makes rituals so powerful, is they impact us on that level, beyond the thinking mind. And so the only way to unlink ourselves from our misery is not by thinking. It's by actually going down deep into the source of our misery and healing it there.